Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever is appropriate for you. Joe Davis from Southern New Hampshire University, Justice 224. This is part 2 of a two-part series about how to get through milestone number 3, applying the law. Okay, let's take a look first at the critical elements of the rubric as our first stop. Please take a look at this because there's very little leeway for me in grading. Remember, this is all provided by the university. So if you're going to get a proficient score, 100% of the points available for this element, which is apply the law, legal issues, you need to establish the legal issues derived from the case facts and briefly describe each. So you have to have 5 separate paragraphs about that. If you only get a needs to improvement, you only get 75%. That's a C, so there is no B grade on this one. So you need to establish the legal issues derived from the case facts, but that you didn't briefly describe each one. So if that mere leaving out of the description costs you 25% of the points for this. All right, let's take a look at a specific example of it. Legal issue 1. This is what you would write in your paper. What crime did Victor commit when he shot Private Dan? Based on the fact pattern analysis, Private Dan is a U.S. Army reservist, a federal employee who was in the performance of an official duty. Victor shot Private Dan 4 times but did not succeed in killing him. The legal term for this crime is attempted murder. All right, so we have the fact from our fact pattern analysis. We have a brief description of the crime. This is a proficient response, 100% of the points available. The next critical element says, applying the law, rule, and the application of law. Once again, it's proficient for 100%, needs improvement 75%. So you need to identify the rule and the applicable law controlling each of the legal issues. So there will be 5 of these. If you only identify the rule or the applicable law controlling each of the legal issues, but not both of those, you only get 75%. So you need to make sure you have both of those. Once again, here is an example of that. The attempted murder is the incomplete, unsuccessful act of killing someone. The applicable federal law, 18 U.S. Code section 1114, source for that was Cornell Law. Protection of officers and employees of the United States. Whoever kills or attempts to kill any officer or employee of the United States or of any agency in any branch of the United States government, including any member of uniformed services, while such officer or employee is engaged in or on account of the performance of official duties, or any person assisting such an officer or an employee in the performance of such duties, or on account of that assistance, shall be punished. So we now have the rule and the applicable law. So this is a proficient response, 100% of the points. The next critical element says apply the law. What are the facts of the case? Once again, you need analysis of the law, apply them to the facts of the case, and then explain how the laws stated apply to those facts. So to get 100%, you need to analyze the laws, apply them to the facts of the case, the laws, and then explain how the laws stated apply to the facts. If all you do is analyze the law and apply them to the facts in the case, but you don't explain how the laws stated apply to the facts, you only get 75% of the points. And remember, this is the university's rubric. So here would be a sample of that, and it would look, this actually is 2 slides before we get to the end of this. So under analysis application, attempt means the intent to commit an act but does not in fact commit it. 2 elements of attempted murder: a direct substantial step or action toward the killing. The fact pattern states that Victor follows Dan to the post office. Specific intent to kill that person. The fact pattern states that Victor shot and hit Private Dan 4 times. Okay, so for attempt, a substantial step or action toward the killing, took the gun, went to the post office, followed Dan. Okay, that's a substantial step. And then the specific intent was shot him 4 times. Now the rest of the answer would be the terms officer or employee mean a person who has the responsibility of performing the duties or function of an office. The fact pattern states that Private Dan is a member of the military, which is part of the federal government. Engaged means to take part in something. Based on the fact pattern, Private Dan is currently on active duty at a nearby military base. He traveled to the mall today at the request of his commander to work at the Toys for Tots booth. Incomplete means unfinished or failing. The fact pattern states that Victor shot at Private Dan 4 times, hitting him, but he didn't die. So there you go. Now you have the facts of the case laid out. All right, we'll go on to the next critical element, and that's applying the law. If you want a proficient score on this, you need to describe the findings based on an analysis of the laws. If you only describe the findings, but they're not based on analysis of the law, you only get 75% of the available points. Findings. This is a heading that you would have in your paper. This is the 2-sentence paragraph. The legal issue is whether Victor will be charged with attempted murder. That's the findings, or excuse me, that's the analysis. And the findings is Victor will be charged with attempted murder. So there you have them each. Next is the articulation of the response. Submission has no major errors related to citations for your sources, grammar, okay, so that means punctuations, possessive, commas, hyphens, all of those things. No spelling errors. Syntax means that the sentence makes sense. If a sentence doesn't make any sense, that's generally speaking a syntax error. And organization. The paper is outlined for you how to write it in what organization. Okay, so if you get all of those correct, you get 100%. Needs improvement. The submission has major errors related to citations, grammar, spelling, syntax, or organization that negatively impact the reading and articulation of main ideas. So that's what you need. It's the same, frankly, for most of the assignments. I will be including 3 attachments for you, and you'll get Southern New Hampshire Justice 224, the Milestone 3, Applying the Law, Guidelines, and Rubric. You have that in 2 different places in the course shell, but I'm going to email it to everyone. You will get a sample of paper 5.2, and then I'll include the 2 PowerPoint presentations for part 1 and part 2. Okay, here is sample 5.2 paper. This is what your paper should look very much like. This is where I got all of the samples in each of the critical elements in the rubric when we went through them. So this paper is not perfect, but it meets all the critical elements in the rubric. Your paper should have a cover page for APA format, and please at least put your name on the paper. I'm still getting papers where you don't have a cover page, you don't have a running head, you don't even put your names on the paper. So get your name on there so I know who it is. Okay. Legal issue 1, what crime did Victor commit when he shot Private Dan? This is the paragraph that was in the PowerPoint. Based on the fact pattern analysis, Private Dan is a U.S. Army reservist, a federal employee who was in the performance of an official duty. Victor shot Private Dan 4 times but did not succeed in killing him. The legal term for this crime is attempted murder. The next part of it, rule and application of the law. The attempted murder is the incomplete, unsuccessful act of killing someone. The applicable federal law is 18 U.S. Code, Section 1114. The author found it in Cornell Law, and protection of officers and employees of the United States. And then it goes on and tells you about the crime. As we move down this page, there is the analysis and application. Attempt means the intent to commit an act but does not in fact commit it. 2 elements of attempt of attempted murder are A direct substantial step or action toward the killing, specific intent to kill that person as we discussed. Then the analysis and application continues. The terms officer or employee means a person who has the responsibility of performing duties. There you go. And then finally right here is the finding, that last two sentences. And then you repeat the entire process for the rest of your legal issues. So you're going to have 5 sets of these. So there's legal issue 3, legal issue 4, legal issue 5, excuse me, it's on page 5, legal issue 5, and at the end you see what this student didn't have is there were no references in APA format. So you need to make sure you have your references. So this is, as it says at the very top, this may not be the most perfect paper, but it is certainly one that would get you a high grade. Keep the cards and letters coming. Again, please let me know what I can do to help you.